Hello, welcome to Stories of the Soul radio show. Your host, Yolanda Thomas. Today is April the 24th, 2022. Almost to the end of April. Wow. So last week, I think I talked about um, spring cleaning and April showers. And this month, I want to just continue on. We're just talking about how we can manage our emotions, on healing. I had planned on talking about something else, but this past week we've had a couple of tragedies that happened, and what I want to talk about today is anger. I want to talk about anger. You know, um, the Bible says, "Be angry, but sin not." Ephesians 4:26. You can read it for yourself. Be ye angry, and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Now you can go ahead and you can read into that, and it's self-explanatory. We have emotions, right? Anger is part of our emotions. You have a happy place, you have a sad place, you be angry. I mean, Jesus got angry, right? It happens. And it's okay. That's a normal emotion, but it's what you do with that anger. I get it. I get angry. I've been angry. It's things that have happened where you know what, I'm gonna be honest with you, I had to really just do some self-talking to myself. I had to just tell myself, I had to just kind of give it to God. And a few times I had a few people didn't understand why I detached myself from certain situations. I had to, because I knew if I would have stayed in that situation, it would have escalated to something more lethal. Rather it would have been me ended up in jail catching a case, or vice versa. I'm not the baddest person around. I know that I'm not. However, at the same time, I know what anger can do for you. Anger can cost you your life. Anger can cost someone else their life. Anger can cause grief and hurt to other people. Anger is one of those things that's very dangerous. Never feel so complacent that your anger can't cost you things. I know somebody recently just lost their job making top dollar due to anger. We have to learn how to manage our emotions. Stop always thinking the worst. If somebody comes to you, and I'm talking to myself too, if somebody comes to you with some constructive criticism, stop always thinking it's saying that you're a bad person, or somebody's talking about you, or somebody's trying to hurt you. I try to look at it as far as helping me be a better me. Sometimes I have to stop myself, and it's been times where someone has caught my attention. They was like, "Well, what do a case in point, we were at my oldest son grandfather passed away. And when we went there, I couldn't find a park. And I was kind of irritated at someone else. And so at the time I was on the phone with somebody else. We was talking, and I'm like, oh wow, I can't find a park. So when I saw my son and he pulled up, with his wife and my grandkids and my mom, I was happy to see them. So I'm like, hi. And nobody acknowledged me. And so when I went to have them roll the window down and the wasn't rolled down, I was irritated. I'm like, y'all don't see me standing here? So when I went on the other side to be like, what's going on? He was like, oh, you just have to wait. Oh, well, I'm not even going to say how I responded. But at that moment, I must have been angry because I gave my son the business. Yes, I did. Not saying that I'm proud of it, but in that moment, I could have handled that situation in a different way. But in that moment, I'm just like, oh, you gonna act like you don't know me. So I'm like, well, you ain't gotta speak. And that goes for anybody, you know, but it's not what you say or what you do, right? Is how you say it. You can come to people with love, you can come to people with kindness. And even though something may be uneasy for you to talk about or discuss, you know, it's how you handle that situation. You know, I'm not saying that I don't get angry because I mean, that's you know what, let's look this up for a second. Let me what is your definition of anger? Stop texting me about working. I'm not working today. I'm off. Let's look up this word anger. So, anger is an emotion characterized by antagonism towards someone or something you feel has deliberately done you wrong. Hmm. So it also says anger can be a good thing. It can give you a way to express negative feelings, for example, or motive you to find solutions to problems, but excessive anger can cause problems. Do you find yourself being angry all the time? Ask yourself that. You don't need, if you are always angry at something or somebody, that doesn't make you a bad person. What it means is that you probably have dealt with some trauma that you never really got over. You could still be grieving over some things. You may not be just happy with yourself. But a person doesn't like to be around somebody who's always angry or always being negative or pessimistic. I remember years ago when I lost my daughter, I wasn't in the best place. And I, I guess I was being negative because somebody told me, they was like, I hate calling you sometimes because you always got something negative to say. And in that moment, that constructive criticism, it hurt my feelings. But guess what? It made me look in the mirror and reflect and realize I don't want to be around somebody that's always complaining and being negative and I always got to listen to their problems. No, sometimes people want you to just, hey, how you doing? Sometimes people don't want an opinion, right? But just want to try to help all of us. It's not just young people, it's us too. You know, if somebody does something to your loved one, of course you're going to be angry. You're going to be hurt. But what do you do with that anger? If we all get angry and start killing one another, nobody's going to be here. Ask yourself this question. Has your loved one, have your spouse, have your husband, has your wife, has your sister, has your brother, has your mother, has your father, have your coworker, have the police, have your pastor, has any of your children, your siblings? Ask yourself this one question. Has any of those ever made you angry? I, Everybody that I've named have made me angry at one time or another. But it's what you do, is how you channel that anger. You don't have to respond with violence. Now, there are times where you have to protect yourself, absolutely. And it's times I'm sure that is warranted, that you have to handle your business. And I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that if we all react in the same way, what would this world be? What are some tools that we can use to channel our anger? Some of us only know one way. I have somebody that I know, she's a good friend of mine. And it's funny because what I respect and love about her is that, it's certain things you can't say to her. It's just certain things, she shows people how to treat her. If you're not respecting her, she don't deal with you at all. I don't care who you are. You got to respect and you got to love that. So some ways that we can change how we handle anger, or how we can respond to like negative criticism. um Try to find something positive out of it. I know that is probably going to be a big challenge, because if someone, for example, if someone murdered your loved one, how do you find something positive out of that? There's no way possible. However, what you can do is that can be a teaching point. We don't know really the situation or the circumstances surrounding that death, But we can strive to, number one, the best advice I can give you is, number one, you have to encourage yourself. You have to tell yourself, you know what, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna make it. And sometimes it's guilt when we lose loved ones. We feel like our time was shortened. We didn't get an opportunity to, necessarily be like that day or within that week to tell that person you loved them or hurt. But that person knew. They absolutely did know. And being angry, it not only causes stress on you, it may cause you to do something that you may regret. How many of you have ever done anything out of anger and then you regret it? I was taught at a young age not to make major decisions when I'm angry. And I strive not to do that. That's why I try to detach myself from certain situations. I kind of go back and think on it a little bit, and then I'll be like, okay, you need to sometimes think about that person's feelings. You know, um, I don't want to be insensitive, but it's almost like if we have a loved one that's out, you know, doing bad things, and then something happens to them, that family is going to be hurt. But did you ever think about those families who he or she may have hurt are dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with? It's almost like it's a cycle, like it's just going to keep going around. But if we would learn, and this all ties into also emotional intelligence. Oh, absolutely. Of course, we don't want to lose our loved ones. Of course, we hurt if something happens to them or if somebody makes you mad. But at the end of the day, what part can you play to make those changes? Be self aware. Beware. Be responsible for you. That's one of the most important things I've been working on. I've been working on so much self care. I look in the mirror at how I can improve myself. What changes can I make to help? Instead of me just lip service and you know how some people always got an opinion like on social media, which I rarely get on there now. Somebody always got something to say. But what are you doing to help? We have a lot of people that can be mentors to these young men. Their fathers are either dead or in jail. What are you doing to step up? You can be that big brother, you can be that big uncle. Don't wait until it affects you and your family. It's a lot of things we can do in this community. Let's all step up. It's not just for women, it's for men too. We can be mentors to these young ladies. Some of the things that I do is I always try to instill and I tell these young girls, love yourself. It's okay to love your mom and your dad and your sister and your brother and your grandmother, but it starts within yourself. Take somebody under your wing. You may have a nephew that you see as troubled. They may have some trauma that they never really dealt with. You know, maybe you can, for those of you who don't have children who always wanted one, why don't you become a foster parent? And if you don't want to be and do something so permanent, there's different organizations within the church. If you don't go to church, there's different organizations that you can look online where you can help somebody. Be self-aware. Don't always be on the defense. Now, this is something I could talk about all day. I used to, when people would give me constructive criticism, I automatically would be on the defense. I felt like they were saying I was a bad person, or I just kind of felt like, oh man, they saying I'm stupid, or just, those negative things, not even really thinking like this is something that can help me be a better version of me. I don't like being angry. I don't like being negative. So when I get in those spaces, I quickly turn it around. Because always remember this one thing. I don't care who you are. We all are one step away from doing something that we will regret. Just think about it. If somebody's hurting your loved one and have hurt them, you're not thinking at that moment. Sometimes you'll black out. But it is my honest belief, if we work on emotional intelligence and working on thinking about we have too much to lose, we will rethink some things. And we're not saying we don't love our loved one that may have been hurt, right? But you're thinking about, what can I do? Somebody, and let me just tell you something. If you got nieces and nephews and siblings, somebody is watching you. They're watching how you're going to handle certain things. That's just like if you grew up in the streets feeling like, excuse me, the only way to live is to be pimping somebody and women should be giving you money. Well, what do you think your sons, your nephews are going to do? The cycle's never going to change. What are some different things we can do to channel that energy? I remember I was watching something, I forgot what it was. And in counseling, they told them, well, when you think something negative or you get angry, instead of reacting, there was a like they keep a rubber band or a band around their hand, and they'll kind of pop themselves or pinch themselves. There's different things that works for different people. I try to process it. I try not to react quickly, because sometimes when we react quickly, the damage is already done, and it's been a few times. But for me, and it's not about being scared, because I don't fear nobody but the Lord. That's all and who I fear. I'm not scared of anybody. But at the same time, if I know this is gonna make a situation escalate, why even put myself through that? I got to protect me and my peace. It starts with me. I can't help anybody if I don't help myself. I got to help me. I got to look out for me. You got to always look out for you. And I'm not saying you can't look out for your loved ones. I think my oldest son is, how old is my son? I think he's 33. Tim, how old are you? I think he's 33. Something happened a couple years ago, and I was angry. I wanted to check I wanted to check this person, but at the end of the day, somebody told me, first of all, they was like, you know what, he's a minister, that's a man of God, he got this. So I kind of just fell back a little bit and I left him alone. But I'm still his mother. So you're gonna get angry. But if we work at how we can handle certain situations, and sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes things just come to us. So if we haven't been in that situation, we really don't know how we'll react. But if you on a consistent basis practice, emotional intelligence, personal growth, just reflecting on what you may have to lose. And not only that, karma. I believe in karma. I believe if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Now, that might not pertain to everyone, because there's some people who, were innocent bystanders. And I just heard recently, because I don't watch the news, that a 15-year-old girl was being raped and the guy ended up killing her. That young girl didn't have a chance to even fully live her life. So she didn't deserve that. But what I'm simply saying is, in some cases, the Bible says it. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Of course, we don't want to see our loved ones die, but I'm just trying to figure out different things that we can do, instead of just always being angry. Let's look at it in a different way. Can we look at it as if this is something that we can learn from? The universe is powerful. What you feed in his mind is what's going to happen. What kind of seeds are you sowing into the universe? Is it negativity? Is it positivity? Is it to help others? And I had to work on some things within myself, you know, on not being pessimistic, on not thinking the worst out of people. I don't automatically think the worst. Somebody asked me the other day, they was like, well, how you know they weren't lying? Well, hell, I don't know. But I take people for them at their word. I don't automatically think they're trying to get over or they're lying or this may be other than what it is. Until you show me something different, I'm going to take you for your word. But I know that I'm a different person when it comes to my my children and my grandchildren. I get angry. I got angry at my granddaughter's my grandkids softball game. The umpire was being partial and biased and doing some stuff. And the cool part about it was I end up to happen to be videotaping this particular play. And the play shows that the person was actually safe. But he didn't want to hear it. He got mad. He told the scorekeeper, he said, well, you guys have been offending me since I've been here. So because you feel like you was being offended, now you're going to start being partial and take it out on the kids. What does that say about you and your character? I think about basketball. That's a heated game. What's the guy name from Utah Jazz? And he got thrown out the game the other day. He got angry. You know, Gary Payton, the second or the third, whichever one it is, he, kind of just patted him. I didn't feel like he was being disrespectful, but he he got mad. He didn't like that, and Steph had to get in the middle and stop him. Now, just think what possibly could have happened if Stephen Curry wouldn't have stepped in the middle of them. Would he have? I don't know. Would he would have hit him, or I don't know, or if Gary Payton, I don't. We don't know how he would have responded. So it's not worth being angry. But of course, you want to win. It's different ways we can handle different things. I'm just thinking about there's something where we we like to protect our children. Have you ever been in a situation where you got angry about one of your children? I remember Dondrell was going to James Logan, and Dondrell, those of you who know him, he's a good kid. I'm not just saying that. He's humble. He don't bother nobody. And I've always taught him, if somebody hits you, you hit them back. I sure did. Now, in my era, my mama told me if somebody hit me to go tell the teacher, but I didn't do that. If you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. But anyway, um, a boy, I believe, pushed my son. He was, trying to bully him or something. And my son remembered what I taught him. So he clocked him a few times. And so the school called me and said, well, this boy pushed him. But we're going to suspend your son because he punched him. He did too much. I said, what do you mean he did too much? I said, did the other young man put his hands on him? They was like, well, yes. I said, then he didn't do too much. The fact that I taught him to hit somebody back if they hit you. So they says, well, in school is different. They're not supposed to fight another. They're supposed to just go tell the teacher. I said, okay, well, if that works for you and what you want to teach people, that's fine. But let me tell you what I'm going to teach mine in my household. And my son has never had a problem since. And so I said that to say, even though my son got angry, he did what he did and it was over with. It wasn't like no retaliation. And I know that it's easy for me to say because I haven't been in situations where necessarily a retaliation was warranted. Some things happen, and um, in my younger years, and I remember, I'm not going to go into detail, but I went to my grandmother, and I told her about a situation, and she was like, "Well, just let it go. They're a church member." Now, I did not want to let this go. And actually, you know what? I still did call the police, but they wouldn't help me because they said I lived in Oakland. And then after that, I kind of just was like, you know what? They're going to get theirs. And actually they did. But I could have, if I would have handled that in a different way, I probably wouldn't even be here, to be honest. And for those of you who know, but when you have people who mess with your children, you just being a mother, you protect them. Even the animals, I'm thinking about animals, right? What do they do if like another animal try to come get their cubs? Or even like dogs and cats, when they first have their babies, you can't touch them babies because they want to protect them. So by nature, we want to protect our loved ones, and there's nothing wrong with protecting our loved ones. There's nothing wrong with having their back. Because if I'm with my loved one and somebody trying to hurt you, then I'm not gonna just stand there and look. Nah, we're gonna handle our business to the best of my ability. But I'm talking about, what I'm specifically talking about is how we can channel our anger more. We can always come back and revisit. We can always come back. And if you don't really want to revisit a situation because we're not obligated to do that, but we all are still alive. We all still here. We're all still able to go on with our lives. But if you make a drastic decision, at the head of the moment, if you get caught, you're in jail. Or there's a hit out on you because people know that you didn't done this. That I couldn't imagine that being a way to live my life, for anybody to live their life. So I'm not going to be on here long. I really just been struggling with Um, I've been struggling with all this death that's been going on. It hit home. It hit close to home to me. Rest in peace to all the people that have passed away this month specifically. I just don't know what it is that we can do as a community to stop some of this violence. I know some of it is motivated by money. People are paying people to do things. And I'm looking at, right, Curtis, you're right. We have to think before we do something. Yes, we do. But a lot of times we don't do that. We just quickly think on emotion. I know, like, I think maybe a couple of years ago, I was put in a situation where I wanted to punch somebody in the face. Yes, I did. YT not perfect. But guess what I did? I left. I removed myself from that situation because it wasn't worth it. I have too much to lose. And I don't mean as far as material things or finances. I'm just talking about in life. I have a message for my loved ones and for my community. I hurt just like everybody else. I have all those same emotions. Oh, good, Curtis. You're going to be starting a mentor program. I'm really happy to hear that, Curtis, because we need it. The youth, we need it. These young men need it. And you can't start when they turn 16. No, 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 no. We need to start. I hate to say this, from the womb, instilling in them positive affirmations, telling them how to handle conflict. Back in the day, I remember if somebody got into it, they would fight, box, bam. The next day, they probably friends talking about, come on, let's go get something to eat. We have to think back. You have family members. People don't care no more. They're killing kids and women. And, I just, that really grieves my heart. And that's why I'm talking about this today on how we can handle our anger. Yes, your loved one got murdered, but if you turn around and kill that person's going to turn around and kill somebody else in your family. Then they're going to turn around and kill somebody else in your family. And the cycle is just going to keep repeating itself. How do we change that? How do you handle confrontation? You can't run from every situation, but I'm telling you, I have removed myself from so many situations where I know it could have escalated into something different. Speak up for yourself, be an advocate for yourself, but you don't have to always do that in a negative way. Just because you don't agree with my idea or my method doesn't make you better than me. You're not always being disrespected. You don't know what kind of day that person had just had. You don't know what they're dealing with. Seriously, they could have woke up and found out their spouse was cheating on them. They could have, like, recently somebody lost their they was burying their niece, and then their husband died. Their ex-husband died. That is a lot. So when that person came to bingo that night, she was really on edge, right? But I understood, but the next person who didn't know her situation didn't know that. So always strive to be kind to people. Always strive to be kind to people. Say a kind word. Listen, it's been a few times that I just kind of held my tongue, and I'm like, he or she is just dealing with something right now. It happens. Back in the day, just think about it. What did you do when you had a fight? Just tell me. For those of you, my old school people, what did you do? You guys had a fight, fist fight, boom, bam. This person won. Next week, you saw this person, you probably felt a certain kind of way because they put them hands on you. Y'all might go at it again, but you both are still alive, here to live another day, to be here with your family. Let's stop the violence. Okay? Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back next week. We're going to be moving locations. So I am looking for guests. If you want to be on my show, it's Believe Radio Yolanda at gmail.com. Tune in 24/7 to Believe Radio. You don't no longer have to wait to Sunday mornings to be inspired and to be uplifted. You can listen anytime. If you guys want to be part of this mentoring program, Minister Curtis Thomas is talking about, you can reach out to him. He's on Facebook. I think it's a great opportunity. We can all jump in and do something and make a difference. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. This is YT. I'm over and out.